And we are one step closer to, to our final four. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. And, and time once again to talk some NBA and NHL playoff action. I'm Mike Bombardier. Pleasure to have you along for the ride. And we are just and we are coming off quite a game 6 in Madison Square Garden, and it just a few short moments ago. First off, let's talk about the Cleveland series real quick. Indiana Pacers go on to win the series 4 games to 1, and they were by the scores of Indiana winning the first two by the scores of 121 to 112, 120 to 119. Cleveland won game 3 to send it to at least 5 by the score of 126 to 104. Indiana wins the final two by the scores of 129 to 109 and 114 to 105. Donovan Mitchell had quite the series with 34.2 points per game and 5.8 rebounds per game during the series. But they were but Indiana was led by Tyrese Halliburton with 17.4 points per game and 4.6 rebounds. And they are heading in with a boatload of confidence to the Eastern Conference Final. As for the next Boston series, I know some of Massachusetts, my Massachusetts friends, David and Eric, are going to be upset about this. New York goes on to beat Boston 4 games to 2. They won the first two shockingly by the scores of 108 to 105 in overtime, 91 to 90. Then Boston would take game 3 to send it to at least 5 by the score of 115 to 93. Knicks would take game 4 by the score of 121 to 113. And then the Celtics would survive elimination in game 5 by the score of 127 to 102. But in game 6, it was all she wrote, as the Knicks would go on to win, and, and probably be the Celtics' worst playoff game in recent history by the score of 119 to 81. Series leader included Jason Tatum for the Celtics with 25 points per game and 11.8 rebounds, and Jalen Brunson for the Knicks with 26.2 points per game and 3.8 rebounds. And that sets up for a wonderful Eastern Conference final. The number 4 seed Indiana Pacers taking on the number 3 New York Knicks, and for the first time since 2021, I believe, we will have an NBA final that does not consist of either Steph Curry or Jason Tatum. And I gotta say, that is pretty huge. Mm. Why do I say that? Well, we have our first team to make it to the Western Conference Final, as Minnesota on goes on and demolishes the Golden State Warriors 4 games to 1. Golden State went on to win the first game by the score of 99 to 88, but then it was all Minnesota through games 2 through 5, winning by the scores of 117 to 93, 102 to 97, 117 to 110, and then in game 5, 121 to 110. And team series leaders for the Minnesota Timberwolves were series leaders. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, they relied on Anthony Edwards with 26.2 rebounds and 7.6, 26.2 points per game and 7.6 rebounds per game. Sorry, I got words mixed up there. For the Golden State Warriors, they relied on Jimmy Butler III with 20.2 points per game and 7.4 rebounds per game. Series average is from a team perspective. Minnesota averaged 109 points per game to Golden State's 101.8 points per game. For the Western Conference semifinal, they will go to a game 7 on Sunday afternoon at 3:30 on ABC. Yeah, let's take a look at how we got here. Let's take a look at how we got here. Denver goes on to win game 1 in really close fashion, 121 to 119. Oklahoma City would come back to tie it. Oklahoma City would then come back to tie the series by the score of a dominating 149 to 106. Denver takes game 3. One in overtime, 113 to 104. And then Oklahoma City will go in to tie it in pretty low scoring fashion, 92 to 87. Oklahoma City would then go on to take another game in game 5, 112 to 105, facing elimination. And then the Denver Nuggets go on to win game 6, 119 to 107 to set up for a decisive game 7 in Oklahoma City. Series leaders so far include Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with 28.8 points per game and 7 rebounds per game. For the Denver Nuggets, they rely heavily on Nikola Jokic with 29.8 points per game and 14.7 rebounds per game. Series averages so far. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are averaging 113 points per game and 46.5 rebounds per game. For the Denver Nuggets, they are averaging 808.5 points per game and 50 rebounds per game. Man, I am really looking forward to the Eastern Conference Final. I have not seen the Knicks. I don't think I've ever seen the Knicks in a position where they could have a chance to win it all. And this year could be that opportunity. Who knows? Yeah. But then again, congratulations to the Knicks on this night. And let me uh, take a look. Oh, I can share this tab. I can click on share this tab instead. Nice. Alrighty. Now we go to the NHL playoffs in second round action, and we have two teams already going to their respective conference finals. Let's take a look at. Now, I literally thought that Washington would make the Stanley Cup final. Oh, but I guess I was wrong then. Well, I guess I was wrong. And Carolina comes in and pounds on the Capitals 4 games to 1. Carolina took the first game in overtime to 2-1. Washington sends it to at least 5 by the score of 3-1. And then it was all too much for Carolina on these nights, winning by the scores of 4-0, 5-2, and 3-1. They move on to the Eastern Conference Final. For the Western Conference, the Edmonton Oilers, who, by the way, have a have such a devil of a head coach, mind you, and Chris Knobloch, who is the same head coach, mind you, prior to last year's Stanley Cup final, had the nerve to blast the Buffalo Bills for playoff, for Super Bowl appearances when they were in a completely different sport. But and then Florida Panthers would, and then we would get massive help from the Florida Panthers and Paul Maurice. So Oilers take the first two by the scores of 4-2, and then the second game in overtime by the score of 5-4. Then the Golden Knights would send it to at least 5 by the score of 4-3. And then it was all too much for the Oilers in the final Two games of the series, winning by the scores of 3-0 and 1-0. They moved to the they moved to their second consecutive Western Conference final for for a series that is going into Game 7. And oh boy, this is make or break time for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They took the fir- they took the first two by the scores of 5-4 and 4-3. Then Florida would take the next two games, one of those to overtime by the score of 5-4, and, and the second by 2-0, sending it to at least 6 games. And then the Panthers would demolish the Maple Leafs in Game 5 by the score of 6-1, and then the Maple Leafs would starve off elimination by the score of 2-0 to send it to a decisive Game 7 in Toronto for, for the President's Cup trophy winners. And boy, this is make or break time for the Winnipeg Jets. They must win to send it to a decisive Game 7. They need late heroics, and I need big heroics from their star players. Dallas in the opening game wins by the score of 3-2. Winnipeg would send it to at least 5 by the score of 4-0. Dallas would go on to win the next two by the scores of 5-2 and 3-1. Winnipeg sends it to a 6 game in Dallas by the score of 4-0. As for my Stanley Cup champions pick, well, Washington. Why? Man, led by arguably the greatest goal scorer, one of the greatest goal scorers ever, in Alexander Ovechkin. I got no words, really. Just no words. I mean, even though, oh my, second pick of Winnipeg is still on the board. For me, I would love to see a battle of Canada between Edmonton and Toronto, but I think with what Florida has been able to do in recent years, I don't see it happening. But I would love to see an Edmonton Toronto Stanley Cup. So, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comment section when this gets published. And we'll be right back with more of the Chilling 3000 Hangouts right after this. Don't go away.